When it comes to Chase Burns, sometimes change is good.
You are Locked On Reds, your daily Cincinnati Reds podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in to Locked On Reds. Locked On Reds is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcasting network in all the land. Thanks for helping get us there. My name is Stephen Offenbaker, joined today by Eric Matthews. We love the Cincinnati Reds. We love baseball. We love talking about those things. I've been doing a Reds podcast now for 8 seasons. Eric is a Northern Kentucky guy, Northern Kentucky University, radio, Reds. He loves them all, and he's here to talk a little ball with us, and we love talking ball with you. On today's show, a little bit later, we're going to talk about the one thing we think could get the Reds not only into the playoffs, but have this team built and ready to go to win a playoff series. We're going to talk about that coming up a little bit later in the show. We're also going to talk about the often overlooked, often forgotten in the conversation, but yet still very, very important mashed potato man himself, as Jeff likes to call him, Spencer Steer. We're going to talk a little bit about Steer being in the outfield here in a few minutes. But where we will start today is with the idea that change is good. Well, what are you talking about? I'm talking about Chase Burns and that changeup that he has been working on all offseason, which he says is ready to go. And the Reds have said, well, good, let's see it. You're starting the first game of spring training. So we're going to get that question answered pretty darn quick. And I think that is where we are going to begin, Eric, because I will tell you, I am excited about Chase Burns. There's been a narrative out there that Rhett Lowder has the inside track for that 5th rotation spot. And I don't necessarily agree with that. I think what Chase Burns did last year, both as a member of the starting rotation and then being willing to move down to the bullpen to kind of prolong his big league life, so to speak, last season as he was running out of innings, gives him the inside track on being the 5th starter. His stuff played really, really well at the big league level. And I like the idea of being able to bring Rhett Lowder along a little bit slower, coming off of a season where he had arm issues, he had injuries, and he pitched in all of 5 games last year, none of those at the big league level. So I like the idea of going with Chase Burns, bringing Lowder along slowly. And then when you get to a point in the season where maybe you need to slow Chase Burns down enough that he has innings left for a postseason run, look it, you got Rhett Lowder, not much drop off there. That's how I would play it. What say you?
We know there's 3 guys in the mix, supposedly. We know it's Chase Burns. We know it's Rhett Lowder. And the other part of this has been Brandon Williamson.
Right.
I'll be honest with you, and I am probably in the minority here. I have a feeling it's going to end up being Brandon Williamson.
Wow. Hot takey right out of the gate, Eric.
Right out of the gate. And that's because I'm curious to see what Chase and Rhett do in spring training. Brandon Williamson, will he be on a pitch count? Will he throughout spring training? And will he be on an innings count? Will Rhett Lowder be on an innings count when we get into the season? Coming off injury for both of them, it's going to be interesting to see. The reason why I think there's a possibility of Brandon Williamson is because he is completely different from all other 4 guaranteed starters. If there's anybody he's close to, it is Brady Singer. Chase Burns is very similar to Hunter Green in a lot of ways. Now, if he gets that changeup going, and he gets a lot closer to a Hunter Green type of pitcher. Rhett Lowder feels more like an Andrew Abbott type of pitcher. It feels like Williamson is kind of just a different breed when it comes to how he approaches from what we remember from a couple of years ago. That's why I think that could be something that plays in his advantage. And if Chase Burns is your 5th starter, do you have a young guy who's very similar to your number 1 in terms of makeup and possibilities? Do you have them go back-to-back at this point in his career? That's what makes me kind of wonder here and kind of curious how it's going to shape up that last spot of that 5th spot. That's why, in my mind, Brandon Williamson may have something of an advantage, possibly.
I'll entertain this for just a second, and then I'm going to tell you why I don't see it.
That's fine.
But what are you doing with Lowder and Burns in this scenario? Are they both going to Louisville and remaining stretched out for replacement in the rotation, or are you sending somebody to that last bullpen spot?
If you want my personal opinion, what I wish they would do, if that were to happen, is you put both of them in Louisville. You let them build themselves up. You let them build their confidence. Let them do what they did, because that's what happened last year with Chase Burns. Is you let him build his confidence, and when he got up here, he was ready to go. Rhett Lowder, it's kind of hard to figure that out coming off of a year of injury. That's what I want to happen if that were to play out. I don't like it, but I think what would happen is if Lowder or Williamson get the 5th spot, they will put Burns in the bullpen. Not a fan of that. I can see why. It's kind of an old school way of doing it in a way, which Tito kind of is in different ways. So I could see it happening, doing that. I'm not the biggest fan of that. I want starters to be starters. I want bullpen guys to be bullpen guys. If you're going to put a guy in a bullpen, I want that to be like that's their spot. That's where you're going to really try to help them be better at. But I could see Burns going to the bullpen, and I could see Lowder going to Louisville. I could see Brandon Williamson being the 5th guy. I could see it reversed. I could see Lowder being the guy and Williamson going to AAA. I could see Chase Burns being the 5th guy, and if that happens, I don't think neither Lowder or Williamson will be in the bullpen. I think they'd be both at Louisville.
I think I hear you, and you're right. Tito is a little bit old school. I don't see it going that way, though. I think Brandon Williamson and Lowder both start the season down in Louisville. Chase Burns is going to be the 5th starter. I'm going to tell you that in his 13, was it 13? Let me look at the thing. I lost my place, but I had it in front of me just a second ago. 13 games, 8 starts, 43 innings pitched, strikeouts per 9, 13.9. Walks per 9, just a skosh over 3.3 walks per 9 innings. That the strikeouts per 9 is right there on par with Hunter Green. The walks per 9 is a little bit higher, but I think that will come down. He's just far too electric to not have in this rotation. Now his limitation will be he's not going to be able to give you 32 starts. If he pitches 25 games, you better hope that you have spaced him out if you want him to be available in the postseason. So I like the idea of bringing Rhett Lowder along slower, having a little bait and switch and replace, trade them out, do some things, get both of those guys available, then have a conversation about somebody being in the bullpen for the postseason. But I think Chase Burns' stuff was too electric last season, and now he's added a changeup that is going to make that fastball and that breaking pitch all the more harder to hit. I just, as long as he doesn't regress here in the spring training, I really believe it's his rotation spot to lose.
Here is, I hate saying this, but we're playing devil's advocate in this conversation, is I agree. His numbers show what he did last year. I was there for his first career start. It happened to line up when I was in Kentucky, and I got to go to that, and I saw what he did. And it was impressive. Every time he went out there, he was impressive, and it is pretty funny to see how he is rent-free in the minds of Pirates fans on social media. That's always funny to see. But I guess where I'm getting at here is there's always that sophomore slump a little bit where hitters kind of learn who you are and whatnot. So how do you avoid that, or can you avoid that? And if you're adding in another pitch on here of a changeup, he only worked on it for one offseason. Would you rather him work on that pitch in the majors, or would you rather him work on that pitch in the minors, at least for a little while? That becomes the conversation on that one in terms of, okay, we saw what he did last year, but we do know that sophomore slump is a real thing. So how do you kind of tamper that off where that 5th spot doesn't hurt you? But at the same time, it is your 5th spot. That is a spot that should either go to a veteran on their last legs that is holding on strong, Wade Miley, for instance. Mm-hmm. And then it's also for what Chase Burns, Rhett Lowder, Brandon Williamson are, is your next guy. The next guy up that could be the next guy in that rotation. But you mentioned a second ago, he's not going to get you 32 starts.
Nope.
As much as I hope that this is not the case, no one except for Andrew Abbott and Brady Singer has proven that they can get you to that 32 starts on this rotation regardless, which tells me Burns, Lowder, and Williamson, all three are going to get their opportunities throughout.
Oh, yeah. They're all going to get big league starts. That is absolutely for sure. No matter how this plays out, I'll tell you what, we're not going to have to wait long to see how things are going. The first game of spring training, Reds, Guardians, it's going to be televised. It's going to be able to see it, and we're going to see Chase Burns starting that thing for the Reds. I can't wait. I am ready for some ball for sure. All right, moving into the underappreciated, the undervalued of this team. I think Spencer Steer gets forgotten a lot, and we're going to spend some time talking about him coming up next. Workplace chaos, deadlines stacking up, inbox overflowing, and the one position you have to fill still sitting open. When the pressure's on and you need the right hire, this is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Indeed Sponsored Jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for: skills, experience, location. So you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute that I'm going to be talking to you here, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed, according to the Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all of the boxes with Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check every single box. Less stress, less time, more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Indeed.com/podcast is where you need to go. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs now. You already make the Reds your business every single day. You already live this team. Well, now you can join the Everydayer Club and get Locked On Reds ad-free over in the audio channels. $5 a month, $50 a year. You're going to get ad-free audio Locked On Reds, plus access to the members-only Discord server where we're going to be talking ball in there all season long, as well as every other podcast host in the Locked On network. You're going to have access to all of that. The link for that will be down in the show description. Go and check it out today. All right, Eric, let's get back into this, because a lot of times we have conversations about the Reds and we talk the lineup, and it's Ellie. Will McLean bounce back? We've got Gino now. How many home runs is he going to hit? All of this conversation, but quietly, reliably, Spencer Steer just kind of shows up and does whatever is asked of him and does a pretty good job at it. Now, I know he struggled a little bit last year as he opened the year with that shoulder injury, but he worked his way back. He managed to finish the year with a positive wins above replacement. He got it to 0.7 after a pretty horrific start, by the way. I mean, he really built that back up. He's just kind of been Mr. Reliable. We don't have an outfielder. Coach, put me in. I'll go play it. Or, in this case, manager, put me in. I'll go play outfield. I've never done it before, but I'll do it. Had him on the show a few years back, Eric. He said he likes to move around, doesn't mind it, loves just playing. He wants to be in there. He wants to help the team. This is a year where the Reds really need him, I think, to push forward just a little bit. But he's been fairly consistent. He had a cup of coffee in 2022, and then he comes to the big leagues in 2023, 23 home runs in 23, 20 home runs in 24, 21 home runs last season. He's been a guy that can steal you a couple bases. Not so much last year, but the Reds numbers were down across the board. But the year before that, he stole 25 bases, low speed on the base pass. Oh, and by the way, they stuck him at first base, someplace that they didn't expect to have to use him, and he was in Gold Glove consideration. But as we head now into 2026, Sal Stewart shows up. He is in, it's best shape of your life season, and he capitalized on that. He's been in great shape. They're talking about he's going to get a lot of the reps at first base. Eugenio Suarez signed by this team. He'll probably take a lot of DH time. And they have said they are now looking at Spencer Steer once again to be a left fielder. And Spencer Steer is going to go out there and do that. And I'm okay with that. The outfield was what kept me from giving this team a decent grade at all early in the offseason. They went and got Gino. That took it from the D I was going to give them based on what they did with the bullpen. The Gino signing took it up to a B+ for me. But the reason that they don't get an A is because for yet another year, another offseason, this is the third or the fourth one, Eric, that they did not address the outfield in a way that made any sense at all. They did go get J.J. Bleday. They did go get Dane Myers. I think the platoon of Friedel and Myers in center field will be good. But J.J. Bleday just simply didn't do it for me. And their grade reflects that. They lose a letter grade for J.J. Bleday. All that being equal, looking at the team, this is the team that we're going to be rolling with in 2026, Eric. I am okay with it being Spencer Steer out there for the majority of the starts in left field.
I'm not. Don't get me wrong. I like Spencer Steer. To me, he is the utility infielder.
Okay.
He's the guy that can play first. He's a guy that can play second. He's a guy that can play third.
Mm-hmm.
I would much rather have him at third on occasions, just as a offensive replacement or starting a third and then Key Brian Hayes comes off, I'd much rather have him there than I would ever having him in left field. Everything that I've seen, he was not much more of a better outfielder than Gavin Lux when he was out there. And I didn't mind Gavin Lux, and I like Spencer Steer better, but I don't want him in left field.
Just so you know, the metrics say that he got to 80% of the balls he should have gotten to, according to, I think Fangraphs had some kind of differential. Jeff had the stat last week, but it was 80% of the balls he should have got to.
But he doesn't have the arm for an outfield. That was what's always concerned me when it came to Spencer Steer in the outfield, was he could play it, but at the same time, could he really be a difference maker out there in left field? And I thought this the last time I sat in with you. I know what they want to do in left field. I figured it out. I've cracked the puzzle. I know what they want to do. It just, will it actually work out? It has nothing to do with Bleday, has nothing to do with Spencer Steer, has nothing to do with Will Benson. They want to be Hector Rodriguez.
Okay.
That's who they want in left field. That's why. So let's go back to what you said a second ago. And I know we're talking about Spencer Steer, but I want to go back to this. You said that they got a B+.
Mm-hmm.
Mine was about an A or A- because of what they did in the bullpen and then getting Gino there at the end and adding depth. The reason why they did not go for the outfield in the offseason was because of Rodriguez. They saw what he was doing and the climate he's been making. He is the dark horse that could end up being the everyday left fielder down the road for this team, with him and Marte on the corners in the outfield. That's what I think they want to happen. Steer is just a guy that can do it. He can play the infield. He is your ultimate utility guy. I don't want him to be the everyday left fielder. I think Bleday and Myers are guys that give you depth. They give you options in case something were to happen. So you get, figure out what you want to do there. But I think Rodriguez is the guy they want in left field.
It'll be interesting. Jeff and I spent some time talking about this yesterday. Who was going to have a bigger impact on the 2026 season, Hector Rodriguez or Edwin Arroyo? And, I feel like at the big league level, it is Hector Rodriguez. This is the year he could play himself into some big league playing time. So I agree with you on that. In the meantime, until he arrives and takes that spot, I would rather have Spencer Steer out there than JJ Bleday or anybody else that they might just throw in, just to have his bat in the lineup every day.
If they're platooning Benson and Steer in left, I'm cool with it.
Which could very well be. That could very well be what they do, because you can't, as you said, and I said this earlier this week, you can bring Spencer Steer back into third base. You can bring him back into second base on the days that Ellie is off because McLean's going to slide over. You can also move Sal Stewart off of first to second on the days that Matt McLean's going to be off. You can bring Spencer Steer back in for first. So we're close. You and I are close to being in agreement in that all of the things that you're talking about could play out. It's really just a matter of, is Hector Rodriguez going to take that next step? Is he going to evolve to that next spot where he kind of forces the Reds' hands? Because at the end of the day, the narrative, we talked about this earlier in the week also, Eric, the narrative has changed with this team. They're doing things differently than they have the last several years. They very much have a more feeling of, we need to get it done right now. We need to go. And if your best option is Hector Rodriguez, I think they'll play him. It's just a matter of he's going to have to go take it away. So I'm looking forward to what that looks like. Could Hector Rodriguez be the difference in what gets the Reds a playoff series win? I don't know, but we have some ideas about what the one thing is. The Reds will win a playoff series if. We're going to tell you what that is coming up next. Ever wanted to experience the NBA Finals live and in person? FanDuel is giving you the chance to turn that dream into reality with their NBA sweepstakes. Here's how it works. Use your profit boost on any NFL future, and you'll automatically be entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for two. That's right. Flights, tickets, the whole experience. If you're already looking at the board and thinking about which team can make a deep run, this is the perfect time to lock it in. I love futures this time of year, whether it's picking a team to win the championship or grab a conference title. It adds an extra layer of excitement to every game down the stretch. And now, not only can you can you pick cash, but it can also send you to the finals. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Use your profit boost on the NBA future and get entered for a chance to win a trip to the NBA finals. Grab your game with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. If you can't watch us here on YouTube, you can get us in the audio feeds. We're seriously on every single podcasting app that's out there. If you find one we're not on, message Jeff. He can make it happen for you. Click subscribe. You can take us in the car. You can take us to the gym. I always say Jeff would love it if you took him for a long walk down by the river. Just get subscribed today. All right, Eric. Playoff baseball. The Reds got a taste of it last season, although it was very short-lived and they didn't look very good, but they were there. And we've heard everybody saying all the right things this spring training. Not so much about, oh, look at us, yay, we were a playoff team, but more along the lines of, yeah, we made the playoffs, but now it's time to go. Now we need to move that forward. And moving that forward means finally winning a playoff series. That needs to happen. You look at this team, and I had the idea to ask you the question, to come up with one thing that if it happens this year will make you feel like the Reds are positioned not only to make the postseason, but win a playoff series. And because I came up with this show topic, I have mine in mind. I'm going to sit on it, and I'm going to let you go first. What's that thing, Eric Matthews?
I'm torn between quite a few things, but this is the one I believe is important. It's the one I kind of pick on every year that I pay attention to. If the combined bullpen ERA is under 3.3, if the bullpen stays intact and they can pick up the slack or anything that's left over by the starters, because we know this rotation is legit. We know there's an argument that this is one of the top 3 rotations in all of baseball. If that's the case, can the bullpen stay in contention throughout the year and be consistent and be under that 3.30 ERA marker throughout the year to limit blown saves and to keep it intact throughout? If that happens, this team has a legit shot to win a playoff series.
All right, it's funny because when we get to mine here in a few minutes, it also starts from the premise of the starting rotation just being fire, and we don't even got to worry about that. I love that you hit on the bullpen, and that's not where I was going to go, but I feel like this bullpen is much, much better this year than it was last year, and I feel like it is going to be a difference maker. It's what kept me from giving the front office an F before they addressed the lineup, because they really did, I think, do a good job at restructuring this bullpen and letting go of some guys that might have been fan favorites, that might have been, appreciated, but that weren't going to quite get the job done in 2026. And instead they went out and they got guys that give you some veteran experience that you can rely on. I think Tito has 4 or 5 guys now that he can pitch in the final 3 innings of a ball game and be pretty comfortable with who's coming in out of that bullpen. I think that you don't have to approach 2026 from a place of, is Tony Santillan going to pitch in 82 games again? Because I don't think that's effective usage. His arm is going to fall off at some point in time. Is Emilio Pagan going to have to give you 60 or 70 games because you don't have anybody else? The answer to all those questions are no. They have enough guys now in the back of this bullpen that reliably can go out there and give Santillan a day off and give Pagan a day off and keep all of those dudes fresh for a postseason series, which is where you're going to need them, which also helps to get to that postseason series win. So I like this one. It's not the one I was going to pick, but I like it.
And the thing is, there was only one guy I wish they would have kept that they did let walk, and that was Barlow. I did like Scott Barlow a lot, but you hit on the point. This team cannot have Santillan or Pagan or even Barlow from last year, somebody putting up those type of numbers on appearances. Mm-hmm. If they can keep that from happening, then they can control their ERA throughout the entire season and limit those type of blown saves. Because I love Tony. I'm a big fan, and I think he is the future closer in a lot of ways. I like Graham Ashcraft a lot. I like the additions that they made. But you cannot put that many innings on that arm this season for this team to really propel to that next level to where they get back to playoffs and can win a series.
No, I absolutely agree. I'll tell you this, Eric. I believe in this pitching staff so much that Here's the limb I will go out on. I'll give you mine now. If Eugenio Suarez remains a 40-plus home run hitter in 2026, the Reds will not only win the division, but they will advance deep into the postseason because I believe in this pitching staff. They just need this offense to score some runs for them. They need 5 runs a game on average. They need to put up numbers. Gino gets it done. With healthy Friedel, with healthy Marte, with healthy Ellie batting in front of Gino, this team is going to score runs in bunches. Gino hits you 40 bombs or more in 2026. The Reds win the division. The Reds win playoff series. I think it's a lock if that happens.
I agree with you. With that ballpark, because Gino hit those home runs last year playing in Arizona and Seattle. You put him in Great American Ballpark where he is that solidified power hitter that we saw before he left. I agree. Mm-hmm. I do believe, though, that majority of those that are listening and watching, while they go, okay, good points, I think the majority, if we polled them, would say Matt McClain. If Matt McClain can step up and he could be the guy that we saw 2 seasons ago before the injury, that would what would put them over the edge. And I cannot argue that. I think we're going to see that. I think I don't know if we're going to see that exactly. I think we're going to see somewhere in the middle where he is closer, somewhere closer to what he was, not compared to what he was this past season. I really believe most fans, when you ask that question and they know what we're already talking about, they thought McClain immediately. So I think all 3 are important. The Gino one that you brought up, how many guys have we seen in the modern era that have hit 45-plus home runs for 4 straight seasons? And
I just want 40. I don't need 45. I just need 40. He hit 49 last year, 30 the year before. He had a little bit of a drop off. He stayed in the low 30s, but he's hit 49 home runs before. He has it in him. He has it in him. I want 40 home runs. If he can hit 40 if he can even hit 35 home runs, it's going to go a long way in making this team score the average amount of runs I think they need to score over the course of a season to kind of solidify them as a division contender. I think they can win the Central. I really do. They just need to score. They just need to score some runs. And if they can win the Central and host some playoff games, this team can advance in the postseason.
The part that I love about this conversation is neither of us who are diehard Reds that watch everything and read everything and pay attention to everything, we're not sitting here putting that pressure on Marte. We're not putting that pressure on Ellie necessarily. We're not putting that pressure on the young guys. We're looking at a veteran in terms of Gino. I'm looking at veterans in the bullpen. I believe I've heard others say this. If you're putting all of this stock into the young guys who are in their 2nd or 3rd season, you're going to be disappointed. You got to look at your veterans, the guys that have done something, that can do it again, that have show consistency. Both takes that we have here is part of that. McClain does not fall in that category, but I do believe a lot of fans are going to think that.
I am Mr. Rah-Rah guy when it comes to Matt McClain because I give Jeff an endless amount of needling for the fact that he said last season to send Matt McClain down while Matt McClain was struggling through his struggles. I think Matt McClain, you said what I think earlier, which is that he's not going to be that guy he was his rookie year. Some of his numbers were probably outliers, but he is going to be somewhere in between who he was last year and who he was that first year. In the first year, his slash line was 290, 357, 507. I don't think he slugs 500 again this year. I mean, I would love it, but I'm not sure that he does that. Last season, with the struggles, he slugged 343. Let's get in the middle of that. Slug 450 or better, that gets it done.
Fine with that. Cool. You do that and you play a Gold Glove second base, we cool. We good.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Make it happen. I'm all for it.
And I think that is where we're going to go ahead and wrap up this edition of Locked On Reds. Thanks so much for making Locked On Reds your first listen each and every day. We appreciate you being here. For the audio folks, go check out Locked On MLB. Make that your second listen. Sully's got you covered in all of Major League Baseball from a national perspective. Lots of great shows, lots of great information, pretty good humor, although sometimes, his Red Sox rah-rah gets to me, but he's still a good guy anyway. So go check out Sully on Locked On MLB. For the video folks, we're going to send you over to Locked On's first ever 24/7 national YouTube channel where all of the experts of the Locked On Network are talking ball every single day, all day long. There's always something for everybody over there. We're going to send you there in just a few minutes. If you haven't clicked subscribe, if you haven't clicked the notification bell, do that now, because we're going to be back in your feed tomorrow with all of the news, the notes, the rumors, and the reports to keep you locked on Reds every single day. And go Bows, by the way.
Hawaii versus Santa Barbara, ESPNU on Saturday.